welcome to this town hall, in Roundtable, the gentleman from Kansas, Congressman Estes. Ron, thanks for joining us.
Well, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ranking Member Brady. And I really do want to thank you for initiating this honest conversation about priorities for American people and the ways that we can truly help recover from coronavirus pandemic. You know, of course, as we talked a little bit about today, our colleagues on the other side of the aisle are holding a sham hearing to try and justify a progressive push to raise taxes. And we need to focus on what are the real facts. You know, our economy was booming. Americans were prosperous under the Republican tax and regulatory reform. You know, just a year ago, our nation saw a historically low unemployment rate of 3.5%, and GDP was going great. And you know, as our friend from Arizona, David Swiker, mentioned last week, you know, that before COVID wrecked the economy, it was the working class whose wealth was growing faster than it had under the Obama administration. So, you know, we're looking at ways that we can help improve the lives of working Americans who've suffered through the shutdowns and how to get back to supporting their families, and not what the Washington elites sometimes do, which is letting the crisis go to waste. So, you know, last week when the 1.9 trillion spending bill was pushed through, looking or supposedly being sold as a COVID relief bill, you know, it's an impact on citizens, and they're going to have to pay for it, and it's going to come out of their income. It's going to come out of their livelihood, and the same thing's going to come up when they talk about infrastructure. I wanted to talk a little bit and ask a question. You know, the death tax is one of the things that's talked about. It's a big impact for folks in Kansas, whether you're a small business owner, whether you're a farmer that's raised your family on your farm and want to be able to pass that on. And you know, when they look at raising or eliminating the death tax, you know, what's the impact on the economy and on farmers and small business owners? If you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit of this before. As part of my long history in tax policy, I actually did some research into the economic impact of death taxes. They're often characterized as things which are easily avoided and which don't have any real impact on the economy, and that's just not true. They are taxes on the accumulation of capital, and they're recognized by people who are trying to modernize their farm, trying to build their family business as taxes on their success. That means two things. Number one, they're going to have to provision to pay those taxes, and that's money that could go elsewhere. And if you raise that tax, you're taking more money out of the business. Number two, it causes you to start rethinking whether you really want to get bigger. Do you want to go into the next bracket? Do you really? Is it worth it? And the third thing it does is it sometimes leads people to simply not pass family businesses along. They simply sell off, and the line doesn't get continued to the next generation. So the evidence on that's quite clear. We know that taxes on capital have damaging impacts on investment and growth. This is a tax on capital, and it's not any different because we labeled it an estate tax. It's a tax on the success of those businesses.
That's right, and that's an understanding about a big impact. And you know, we talk a lot. You know, all Americans really want clean air, we want clean water, and we want to make sure we maintain that. We want to make sure we do the smart investments, things like rural broadband, which is so important for my state. I know coming down the pike, what's being talked about are, you know, maintaining and expanding some of these, in some cases, extraneous and no longer needed tax incentives like electric vehicle credits and things like that. And, you know, we talk about some of the people in my district, like Crystal, who's an elementary school teacher, mother of three. You know, they're going to be paying the tax. She's going to be paying the tax to help make sure the millionaires in California get their electric vehicle. Are there some things that, you know, as we go through that we can gather information on about what are some of the good credits that we should follow, and what are some of the bad that we should absolutely avoid and keep away from?
Well, I think the real lesson that jumps out is if you find yourself in a position where you genuinely need more revenue, and you may find yourself in that position, the lesson of tax reform is low rate, broad base. So broaden the base, don't raise rates, and go find the credits that don't make a lot of sense and get rid of them. and march down to the extent that you can in the minority the path that was tax reform 2.0. That was the right path, and use as much of it as you can in this setting.
Well, great. Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I yield back.